Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Megan.
And this is Joe Smith.
We're back for another episode of the Do Better podcast. We missed you in September. I had a guest, Nicole, join me, and we were talking about things that keep us up at night. But we're excited to have
Thank
you back, Joe. Do you want to tell us
you.
any life updates?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, the reason why I wasn't able to attend in September is because, well, you know this, Megan, but I had my son born early on August 6th. So that has been life-changing and phenomenal and awesome, but kind of it was kind of scary too because uh we went from like going from a C-section to natural birth back to C-section and like all that medical stuff that goes in between that. But he was born all healthy, no complications. He did have to spend some time in the NICU, but like he's absolutely phenomenal and was a champ. And I got to work with an awesome OT up there, training, like teaching us how to like properly feed him because it's fascinating to just to listen to another professional talk about their craft and how much mechanics go into learning how to drink a bottle.
Hmm.
Because since he was born, he didn't have the skills and the skills to drink,
Yeah.
stop, take a breath, and continue drinking. What he would do is he would drink, 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 drink until like he couldn't breathe anymore. Like, yeah, he would get blue in the face. He would just keep, and so that process, we had to feed him a little bit differently. So that was cool though. And I really appreciate working with the OT. I actually personally know him from I mean, being in uh, Team Hoyt, and we would in the races we have done together. But he's phenomenal.
Nice.
So,
Well, that's
but
good.
that was it. That wasn't it, Megan.
Oh, what
That
else
was.
happened?
Oh, so I also decided, don't ask me why, but to start a brand new job too.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so newborn and a new job on top of it. And but you know what? It's going well. We're getting the swing of things. We've got a routine down. And it's going well. Really happy and it's it's I mean, I love my previous position, but like this just happened to fall in my lap, and the fact that I'm back in public schools is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And also using my knowledge in ABA and knowing how to collaborate with other teachers and professionals in the school.
Yeah.
So that has been a lot of fun. It's kind of like something I've been wanting to do. Even when I was a teacher, I always wanted to mentor new teachers and help them and provide that support, even when I was just a teacher, not BCBA. So it's kind of like nice to kind of swing into this side of life and try this new adventure.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so much happening, but you seem to be navigating it all smoothly. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun and it's always a learning experience too. Like because I'm constantly meeting new people, new teams, and it's interesting going from different school buildings because the culture in each building is so different.
Yeah.
And then I learned very quickly, like some schools, like no, everyone there wear tennis shoes. Do not come in dress shoes and in a blazer because they'll be like, what are you doing here?
Right.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Uh, so I learned very quickly, but it's been fun. It's
That's
been fun.
that's a really great observation. We might have to have like an episode soon, maybe at the beginning of next year after you've been there for a few months of like lessons you want or tips you want to share with people going into the schools. Because I think more and more people are getting burnout and frustrated with insurance
It,
and like PE companies, and they're switching over to the schools. And I think the company that you're working for is making that a little bit more possible too, because I feel like they're in multiple states
they
providing
are.
services so that there's more job opportunities for BCBAs in the schools now than there used to be.
Oh yeah, and more school districts are getting on board with having BCBAs, RBTs in the school system. Um, Maybe not so much outsiders, but more either a consultative model or they hire their own BCBAs and RBTs to work in the public school setting. And it's phenomenal. It's awesome and desperately needed.
Yeah.
Uh, so I can say like for me, like this, like being able to just help and support these teachers is something that I absolutely love and something, I'm passionate about just because I was there. I was that teacher where I was struggling and I was struggling 5 years before I really started to like learn my craft as a teacher.
Mhm.
But yeah, public school system, you can definitely get burned out with all the expectations, but that's where like we could talk about later, but learning how to collaborate and learning the gives and takes. You can't just come in and demand everyone do this
Right.
or what to do because they're going to look at you like no.
Yep.
So I think that's why I really love this is because I knew coming in I needed to be open to listen and hear and build that rapport and relationship with not just the teachers I work with, but everyone in the building.
Yeah.
Because uh because who knows, I could need something and I know the person I need to go to. So any way I can, be a positive impact in the school, I'll do it.
Yes. And I love it. It's so funny how you've like come full circle too, like having been there, going out, doing some other things, coming back, and definitely have like not just life experience, but obviously clinical experience that hopefully is the schools and the teachers are able to recognize, what you can bring to like not just that you have a background in teaching, but just from being in different environments and stuff, like you have a wider array of examples. There was actually a post on Facebook this week that I felt really bad. It was a person in the school-based ABA group who has, I don't fully understand what's going on with the classroom, but it sounds like it's her classroom. She has 22 years experience teaching, but she
hmm
has like two BCBAs that are also part of the classroom. And I don't know what the hierarchy is. Like, are the BCBAs in charge? Is the teacher in charge? I would assume the teacher's in charge. But the way she was talking, it was like the two BCBAs are wanting her to do things that she doesn't think are the best fit for her classroom. And she posted this picture of this like visual board that looks insanely overwhelming. There's like 10 to 12 different columns and then all of these different colors, and the students are supposed to know which one is theirs and like follow this color coded schedule throughout the day. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, that looks so overwhelming. So the reason I bring that up is like that collaboration piece, like we come in as BCBAs with like really good ideas or knowing certain things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for that classroom. And especially knowing what the teachers have their own expertise as well, and being able to collaborate and work together. I know that that's what's going to happen for you, but if they have negative experiences with previous people, it sometimes makes it a little harder.
Yeah. And why two BCBAs? That to me, that's a little over the top. Like you're better off dividing them because there's other classrooms that need a BCBA
My guess is
support.
it's one of the schools. There are schools in certain areas that are like essentially more run like an ABA clinic, but they've set
Yeah.
up the classroom system and they have like a whole, it's like a very regimented, rigid structure, and it's overseen by BCBAs, and the teachers are like an add-on essentially.
Uh,
And that based on the little bit that was described, it feels like that kind of setting, but that's not necessarily beneficial for the clients. Like I've seen videos or presentations at conferences where like that's the setup that people are working in and they get so excited about it. But I don't want to be overly critical, but for me, it's like I've had clients in those settings and it's never benefited them. Like it benefits the kid who would do well in any setting.
Yeah.
But the kids who need individualized instruction, who really need the expertise of like our science and like a really good teacher, they miss out because the system's so regimented and just like they pride themselves on having like this regimented like flow and like we just copy paste the same thing every year and they've created almost like a production line, it feels like, you know, for an ABA classroom instead of more of like what you would see. Okay, here we have a classroom and we're infusing the science of behavior analysis and education together, you know?
It would be interesting to see like what what markers are they using to identify if they're successful? Like what kind of outcomes are they looking at? Because like that's intriguing too. Is like, is that regimented structure beneficial as far as like, being them being able to go to a public school setting? Is it just structure so then they have more uh because that's the least restrictive environment for that child? Or like it just would be interesting just to dive more into that. Um,
Yeah.
so but that's just a thought and just
And
came
my
across.
in my experience, what happens is just this is funny because it's going to tie into the whole like expert thing that we're going to be talking about. But what I've
Okay.
noticed is people are receive training in the science from like a research side of things and research demand structure. You know, like you have to have
Mm,
very specific procedures that you don't stray from so that you can say for sure, like these are the variables we were controlling and like this impacted that or it didn't. And then they take that way of practicing and try to do it, whether it's in the school or the clinic or the in-home, whatever, but they try to, you know, have that way of operating in these applied settings instead of recognizing it's an applied science. We need
mhm,
to
mhm.
be, we need to be, I've talked about this a few times, but Merritt Shank, Dr. Merritt Shank, he's a BCBA that I presented with years ago, and he was doing research on baseball. His research was with little league baseball players and using tag teach with them. And in his presentation, he talked about how there's so much from like the field of behavior analysis he would have loved to do in that little league situation, but there's a game with rules, and he had to figure out how to apply the science with the game he was given, not the game
Yeah.
he wanted. And I think about that like I feel like far too often with scientific endeavors, people want to change the game instead of looking at what the game is, whether it's these are how classrooms run or this is how a home is set up. They want to just change the game and make everyone fall in line with their structure and like research way of doing things instead of saying, oh, this is how, you know, and I'm not saying we can't give input on how to better function in a classroom because obviously there's a whole lot that can be adjusted in the way America runs their
Yeah.
classrooms. But in the grand scheme of things, like trying to take full control over everything and make it like a scientific research study is likely to not be beneficial for most people. But from like a values and like learning history and what's reinforced, if that's the only thing you're trained to do and you're taught to highly value it, then that's what you're going to do in whatever setting you're in, even if it's not the most appropriate thing.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the flip side, I mean, the other side too is like, I mean, okay, say you do this, and then what is it going to look like next year for that kid? Because most likely he's not going to have the same teacher. So you almost need to start right like back again, or that student will go into another classroom or another setting, and it's going to be a disaster because it's not set up the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much in education that we can dive into, just like how we can do better in the school setting, um, when we're coming in and supporting a classroom or a division.
Hmm.
So, but that's for another podcast. That can be a long podcast too.
Yeah. We'll have to make notes of our future topics. So, well, speaking of future topics, we were chatting a few months ago about like, ooh, we
Yeah.
should pick some articles for people and like let everyone know ahead of time these are the articles we're going to read and then discuss in our next podcast. So we finally got it together and because it's a hot topic that's come up several times in 2025 and then the BACB just announced new requirements for ACE continuing education events and approval. And basically, they're attempting to operationally define expert. So
Mhm.
I thought for the podcast that we're doing on October 10th that I made a folder with like these are open source articles. So I'll share the folder in our show notes and I'll send it out to like our members and post it online too. So anybody who wants to read the article and then like come join us in the discussion, I hope people will participate, but otherwise you and I can just chat. That's fine too. But the articles that I have, the first one is from Kranick and Onofrio that's selecting speakers for behavior analytic conferences, policy review, and recommendations. And this was published in the Behavior and Social Issues Journal in 2024. So this one talks about like gatekeeping in the field and looking at the data of like who are the people that are typically invited as keynote speakers and invited speakers. Have you read that one yet?
No, but
Okay.
that's gonna be my list.
Yeah. And then the next one is from, oh, hold on. Boggs, Rapp, Cook, Richling, and Mohammed. And it was published in Behavior Analysis and Practice in 2025. And it's our keynote and invited speakers at State Behavior Analytic Conference experts on their presentation topics. And this one caused a lot of ruffled feathers for good reason. Like the ultimate conclusion seems to be that people are defined as experts based on their publication record. So that'll be interesting to look at and discuss, especially contrasting with the Kranick article. I think they're making like two different points. So I thought that would be a good, discussion to have. Boggs and colleagues also had another article that came out, but I don't think it was open source yet. And they specifically looked at the Sex ABA conference and like the speakers on that conference, and they were trying to make some conclusions about expertise there as well. But currently, I mean, people who have access, through like the BACB or their own subscription or whatever can probably access it, but I can't put it in the folder because it's not
Okay.
open source yet. So if folks want to read a bonus article, the article is The Question of Expertise and Scientific Rigor at ABA Conferences for CEUs, a case example and analysis of the Sex ABA conference. So I'll put a link with that article information in the chat or in the notes, but I can't put the actual
Share it.
article in there. And this is from essentially the same people, but different order: Rapp, Boggs, Cook, Richling, and then the last author is different, Hatch. And that was also published in 2025. So if folks are interested in, having a bonus article. But in addition to that, I put in the new ACE requirements that the BACB put out that talks about the new requirements. So in order, starting in July 2026, in order to present a continuing education event, there needs to be an instructor who has 5 years experience on the subject, 3 years teaching on the subject, or a combination of the two that sums up to five. So you could have 3 years experience and 2 years teaching, or a track record of publications, whatever that means. There's no clear definition provided. So we won't go into like my thoughts on that today. We will talk about that when we have our podcast in October because I definitely have thoughts about it.
Mhm.
But what was interesting to me, I will say at least this, it didn't feel like, based on what I know about this subject, that the requirements are based in any research. So I'm really curious to know. I feel like they probably had subject matter experts make this determination of how they were going to define it, but there's no justification or rationale given as to like how they came up with this as their definition. And they're not referencing any articles or research or anything. But one of the models that I've followed for about 5 years now is the Dreyfus and Dreyfus model on expertise and like the different levels that people go through before they're considered an expert. So I put an article in the folder as well that's open source, looking at using the Dreyfus and Dreyfus model with training dental students, in case people want to see like, well, here's an actual research-based model that defines expertise, so that we can have like a more informed discussion and not just what are people saying in our field about it.
And it'll be interesting to see how they define teaching. Like, do you mean that like teaching like just a few students, or like teaching like a whole class, or are you
Well, I think
mean
for teaching, they mean if you've taught people from like a college level or if you're doing like trainings on the topic.
okay?
Yeah. But they don't, I mean, it's very vague. So,
I just think that might that part I think a lot of people I mean would cut out a lot of people from presenting.
yeah.
So
And
so
they
I
still
just
have the catch-all where you can have like multiple presenters. So it's like the main CE instructor needs to fit these requirements, but then you could have co-presenters that don't. They have to do that because most conferences, like ABAI especially, have students presenting. And students
yeah
obviously aren't going to fit that definition. So usually what happens is their professor serves as the CE instructor, does nothing with the presentation. Then like four different students will present for like 15 to 20 minutes. The professor might do a discussion at the end, or they have someone else do the discussion, but it's basically just this like workaround. So like people are still, I mean, when we say this is the one that gets me the most, I guess we are going to talk about it. When we talk about like the easiest one to me for like determining whether or not something counts as a CE, does it go beyond the task list? Right? Like does it go
Mhm.
beyond what you're learning in grad school? I'm sorry. I truly value student presentations. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for folks to like get, and I think people should go to their presentations. There are so many ways to get CEs now that like at a conference, if you committed to going to like one or two student presentations, you would still be able to get your 32 CEs easily.
Yeah,
Why we get CEs for student presentations is beyond me because rarely ever are those going beyond the task list, right? Like they're talking
yeah,
their research they did on like, a self-management program or like reinforcing verbal operants. It's like the most basic stuff because they're students, which is fine. That's where they are. But why is that counting for CEs? And why is our like big focus on people who actually do have expertise and trying to gatekeep who can train us in the work that they've been doing that might be out of the box or different over, maybe they've only been in it for 2 years, but they know way more, obviously, than students presenting their like thesis at a conference.
that's almost like those like the BCBAs are really outside the box, like in sports or um health and nutrition, like they're like that's cuts them out I would think drastically, um because there might not be necessary teaching frequently, or um they're 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 starting to get their feet in the door, but they need to like also communicate what they're doing and to bring more people on their like in their field, their little bubble.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah, it'll be interesting to read those articles and just find and just see the contrast, and just have an open discussion of like what it means, what maybe the definition of an expert should be.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to probably know what my perspective is on it. I'm hoping some folks will join us. Like, I might even just do the link public. Usually, we do our recordings where folks from the collective can join us, but I know it's hard. So, I might, since we, know ahead of time that we're doing this, I might just open the link up for anyone who wants to join us.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to be an echo chamber. I don't want it to just be like, well, this is what we think. But to, if there are people that have differing perspectives, definitely would love to hear their insights on, what I'm missing because there's definitely a subset of people in the field who are very adamant about these things and what constitutes expertise. Again, I think it's more based off of their learning history, but as is mine. So, it would be nice to have like, I don't necessarily want to say a debate, but like an open discussion to understand the perspectives that are getting us to this point because I'm not tracking. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, that also cuts out all the CE credits that you can gain while being employed at like a clinic company. Because a lot of the companies, like when I was at Acorn, like we had a lot of CE opportunities to collect CE credits, and just based on that definition, I almost would say like a lot of our opportunities would be diminished because of that definition.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think, for like companies that are doing internal trainings and they might have BCBAs who've only been certified for a few years, the content is probably still relevant and necessary and worthy of a CE, but they're going to say, oh, well, you can't count it now because they don't have 5 years experience. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, in terms of other stuff we were going to talk about, just kind of like a quick update for Do Better and me on like what I have going on for the rest of the year, and then maybe I don't know if you have anything exciting since you're juggling new job and new baby. So I will be traveling and I'm super excited to see people if you'll happen to be where I'm going. So in October, well, first of all, next week, I hope to get this. I need to publish our podcast from last month. I haven't done that yet, but I'll hope to get both podcasts published within the next couple of days. But so if hopefully I do, next week is FABA. I did decide to go. So I'll be there, have a booth with Dia from Step Forward ABA, also known as the Behavior Man. So feel free if anyone's listening to come see us and say hi. We have stickers and all sorts of swag, and we're doing a raffle. We're raffling off 3 different sets of Air Maxes, the Apple headphones,
Yeah.
a MacBook, and an iPad. So if you're listening and you're going to be at Fava, come check out our raffle. And Joe's very excited about that. He wishes he was going to be at Fava, I think now.
Again, guess what? I can't attend FABA because I have a newborn.
I know. Well, maybe next year. It's a tradition we hope to carry over each year. So,
Yeah.
we're not giving out chocolate anymore. We're giving out technology. And then in October, like mid-October, I'll be in Australia in Sydney for a 2-day workshop I'm doing called the Do Better Guide. And I'm super excited about we're gonna have like hands-on practice, and I'm hoping to see there's quite a few folks I know in Australia, but anyone who's like in that general vicinity, maybe you can make your way to Australia. And then I'm going to Bahrain and Saudi Arabia in November. But before that, I'll be in Mississippi for their state conference. So that's like November 7th. Then I'll be in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. And then in December, early December, that first Friday, I'm presenting. Maybe you could make this one, Joe. I'm presenting at Maryland ABA.
Oh, I could. That's only about 3 hours for me.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And it's on a Friday, which is your like admin day. So maybe you could come. But so that's my like travel and conference schedule through the end of the year. I'm really bummed because I can't make it to the Standard Acceleration Conference because the Mississippi conference is at the same time. But if I would highly encourage folks to check it out. It's in Savannah this year, and I think it's going to be amazing. So if you're not familiar with the Standard Acceleration Conference, I'm just going to plug that real quick. From the like, what are we doing do better wise? We're doing Rejected again. So, our second time doing the Rejected conference. And we have all of our speakers. We'll be putting out information about like registration and all of that in the next few weeks. We'll also be advertising our retreat that we're doing in February of 2026. and it's our birthday. November 15th is our fifth birthday, so we're gonna try to do something for that too.
That's awesome. I can't believe it. It's coming up already.
I know. It's interesting because like for the movement and like starting all of the trainings and everything, what that was 2018. So I'll probably have to do something in a few years just to celebrate the start of the movement too for like 10 years. Um,
Yeah.
but the official opening of like the collective and all of that was November 15th of 2020. So
Wow.
we're turning five.
Wow. We're turning 5. Wow. And it seems it's just like yesterday too.
I know. It's crazy.
It is. It
Do you have
is.
anything? I know we talked about like baby, new job, but anything exciting on your horizon till the end of the year?
Ah, no, I'm just taking it day by day and just enjoying this baby phase because after this it's like, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
So we're
Yes.
like, I'm just
Every day is
enjoying it.
exciting for you.
It is. It is. And then my other kids are grown up, and I tell you what, it's heartbreaking, but it's awesome too to just see them grow.
Yeah.
But it's also like, can you just stay like the age that you are just a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you know? But
I know I was
it's
like so excited for Taylor to like, kind of become a little older and more of his own human and like see his personality and everything. And it felt like it happened overnight that he went from like wanting to cuddle and like hugs
hmm
and lovey to just like a teenager. And he's not a teenager yet, but it just feels like that. Like he's like, oh, mom. I'm like, wait, what happened?
What happened? We were doing this like last week, and
Yeah.
now like this is
It's like,
yeah.
but it's still fun to see, like some of the things. It was funny at I think this is just a funny like non-ABA story, but at his baseball game last week, a kid did like a really good play. And Taylor started going 6'7", 6'7", and I was like, "What is he doing? Like, why is he yelling that?" The kid's number was not 6'7". I was so confused. So I'm like scrolling on Instagram, and thank goodness for algorithms. This video
Yep.
comes up. It's like, middle schooler terms or whatever. I guess Sendi's a really popular one right now too, which I don't even know. I didn't pay attention to that part. But apparently 6'7" is from a song. And then it became like a viral meme with like middle school basketball players, and this kid like makes a good shot or whatever, and they're filming these other kids, and the kids are like 6'7", 6'7", and that's like this big thing now. And it was really funny because I asked Taylor, I was like, "Do you even know what it means?" And he was like, "No, I just heard it." And I'm like, "Well, you used it in context because, but we're probably gonna have to start having conversations about not just saying things you hear." Because in this
Yeah.
situation, it was fine. But in the future, who knows? It could be something really bad. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my kids were using no cap and Sigma Boy and
yeah,
um, but I know they're like that's even dated now.
yeah,
That's how fast
a
like
whole new set of lingo.
yeah, Jose lingo. I will say that one of the things that I'm really loving that my kids are into, well, maybe not now because I'm into it, is K-pop.
Oh,
Demon
K-pop
Hunters.
stars. Yeah, I
That
haven't seen it yet. I'm behind.
I love it. I love the because it's so it, it the songs are so catchy. Like they really truly are, and I just love like I love how catchy they are. And then plus also my daughter loves singing like some of the songs, so it's like it's that bond that we have. Like like well we both love it, so we both sing it, and it's just so cool. But but yeah, that's about the only other exciting thing going on. I mean, yeah, only exciting thing, newborn and new jobs. I mean, it's a lot. But no, I'm just day by day just taking it in and enjoying the new phase of life. So,
That's awesome. I love that. And I'm hoping, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but did your wife get to take like maternity leave at all?
yep. She's on maternity leave now, which is good because like uh just being able to be there and spend time with him
Yeah.
and developing that relationship and rapport. And I tell you what, you know, every mother should have maternity leave,
It'd be
no
nice
matter
if
what
every
job.
mother and father partnered, like however, the two people, if there are two, could have
Yeah.
leave. That would be great.
I I did have maternity leave when I was at Acorn when
Oh
we
yeah.
adopted our kids too. Which was nice because we, of course, we didn't, you know, they weren't newborn to us, but we adopted and it gave us time to like really, now that we're a new family, to spend that time together and build that rapport and relationship, and just spend more time with each other, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but that was great that I was able to have that. And of course, starting a new job, you don't really get that option or ability to do that right now.
Yeah.
So, but it's fine. You know, being a school BCBA, you're on school hours, so that's really um, that just works well with our family right now. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, no. And I'm just glad to be back.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Well, we're gonna do so that in because of Joe's new job, we're doing Fridays now for our
hmm
recording. As of right now, hopefully in 2026 we'll have like a set day, like it's like the third Friday or whatever, but we haven't figured that out yet. So we're just doing whatever Friday we have available. So October 10th is the Friday we will be meeting next, and we will be talking about this whole idea of expertise and reading, preparing to discuss the different articles that I have in the folder shared in the show notes.
Awesome.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, enjoy your Friday. Give your new baby a hug for me. Hopefully, I'll get to meet him someday. And I haven't met any of your kids, so hopefully, I get to meet all of
Yeah, you will. You will. We'll plan it out one day. But uh, but yeah, do you want me to send it off?
them. Sure, go for it.
All right. Go forth and do better.